Some tools you buy and they become part of the background. These aren't those. Every tool on this list is one that sewers describe the same way when asked, "Why did I wait so long?" That's the specific feeling I'm going for. 40 of them. Let's go. Number 1. Sewing gauge with seam allowance stop. Dritz 6-inch metal. A sewing gauge, a 6-inch metal ruler with a sliding marker you lock at any measurement, sounds too simple to matter until you've been sewing with one for a week and then tried to work without it. You set it once to your seam allowance, hem depth, or pleat spacing, and use it as a consistent reference across every single use of that measurement in a project without remeasuring. The Dritz version has a knurled locking wheel that holds its position under real use rather than slipping. Number 2. Taylor's awning pins, extra fine glass head. Extra fine glass-headed straight pins, specifically the Clover patchwork pins or the Prime silk pins with a 0.5 millimeter shaft diameter, are the version of pins you didn't know existed if you've only ever used standard household pins with their 0.6 to 0.8 millimeter shafts. The finer diameter leaves no pin marks in silk, chiffon, or fine cotton. The glass head, rather than plastic, survives direct iron contact without melting. If you sew with delicate fabrics and haven't upgraded to fine shaft pins, that specific upgrade costing $6 to $9 for a box of 50 is the fastest technical improvement available to you right now. Number 3. French curve set, clear acrylic. A set of clear acrylic French curves, the set of curved template rulers used in dressmaking and pattern drafting to draw smooth, consistent curves for necklines, arm size, hip curves, and trouser crotch seams, is the tool that makes the difference between pattern adjustments that look professional and ones that look corrected. When you alter a commercial pattern or draft from scratch, the transition curves require a template to look intentional rather than hand-wobbled. The full set typically includes a hip curve, a neckline curve, and a styling curve in different radii, available from pattern drafting suppliers for $15 to $25. Number 4. Hump jumper, Gina Majig. A hump jumper, also sold under the name Gina Majig, is a small plastic wedge placed behind the presser foot to level it when starting a seam on a thick, multi-layer area, like a jeans side seam or a bag gusset, preventing the needle from skipping stitches or the machine from jamming at the transition from flat fabric to thick overlap. It costs $4 to $8, and almost every sewing machine manufacturer includes instructions in their manuals that say to use one without telling you its name. This is the tool that eliminates the specific frustration of broken thread at every thick seam junction. Number 5. Point presser and clapper combined tool. A combined point presser and clapper is a hardwood tool with a narrow pointed ridge on one end, the point presser used to press collar points and cuff points, lapel corners, and V neckline seams from inside narrow spaces where a standard iron sole can't reach, and a flat smooth block on the other, the clapper, used to trap steam after ironing to set a flat, crisp press permanently. A tailor's iron alone can't replicate either of these functions. Together, they're what produce the sharp collar points and flat press seams on garments that look professionally tailored rather than home sewn. Cost $25 to $45. Number 6. Walking foot, even feed foot. A walking foot, a presser foot with its own feed mechanism that grips the top layer of fabric and moves it forward in sync with the machine's bottom feed dogs, is the solution to every problem caused by fabric layers shifting during sewing. Puckered seams on quilts, mismatched stripes at side seams, stretched knit hems, and slippery fabric that creeps out of alignment. If your machine didn't come with one, a compatible aftermarket walking foot costs $15 to $35. Number 7. Bias tape maker, Clover multiple widths. A Clover bias tape maker, that small funnel-shaped metal tool that you pull a cut bias strip of fabric through while pressing, and it folds both edges to the center so you simply press behind the tool as you pull, is the only thing that makes making your own bias tape from scratch a practical rather than a theoretical option. Producing a yard of bias tape by hand, folding and pressing freehand, takes 15 to 20 minutes of awkward, inconsistent effort. The bias tape maker produces the same yard in 3 to 4 minutes with perfect, consistent folds. Number 8. Teflon presser foot, non-stick. A Teflon-coated presser foot with a non-stick coating that allows the foot to glide over vinyl, leather, faux leather, rubberized fabric, and laminated cotton without the drag and sticking that a standard foot causes is the tool that makes sewing these materials possible rather than a battle. Standard feet grip these materials and stop, breaking rhythm and distorting the fabric. The Teflon foot glides continuously. A compatible Teflon foot for most low-shank home machines costs $10 to $18. Number 9. Loop turner, brass, fine tip. A loop turner is a long, thin metal rod with a latch hook at the end used to turn narrow fabric tubes right side out after sewing. The method: insert the rod into the sewn tube before turning, hook the latch onto the closed end, and pull the rod back out, drawing the fabric with it to turn the tube in seconds. Without one, turning a narrow sewn tube involves a safety pin that catches on seams, takes 10 minutes of frustration per piece, and often distorts the tube in the process. Number 10. Tailor's Chalk Triangular Hard Pressing. Triangular Tailor's Chalk, specifically the hard pressing variety like Clover Triangle Tailor's Chalk, not the soft or powdery type, maintains a sharp marking edge for significantly longer between sharpenings because its triangular profile creates 3 usable corners rather than 1, and the hard formula produces a narrow, precise mark rather than a broad smear. The specific superiority over chalk pencils is the suitability for heavy fabrics. Wool, denim, and upholstery weight materials show the chalk mark clearly, where pencils produce only a faint, invisible line. Available in white, pink, yellow, and blue for different fabric colors. Cost $3 to $6 per stick. Adjustable dress form, body twin style. An adjustable dress form with a dial mechanism that expands each section to match your or a client's specific measurements is the sewing room tool that transforms garment making from guesswork to precision. Without it, every fitting requires a second person, a specific time commitment from them, and the inability to step back and assess the garment with fresh eyes. The dress form holds the garment continuously, allows adjustment of seams, and reveals fit issues that only become visible when you stand back 2 feet. The Dritz My Double is the most widely used mid-range version. Cost $120 to $200. Number 12. Industrial Hand Needle Assortment, John James. The John James brand industrial quality hand sewing needles, made in England to tighter eye and shaft tolerances than budget alternatives, are the needles that thread more easily, break less frequently, and maintain their sharpness significantly longer than generic assorted packs. A pack of 50 assorted John James needles costs $8 to $12 and is the upgrade that causes experienced sewers to quietly wonder why it took them years to make it. The eye is polished to a smoother finish, which causes less thread shredding. The shaft is harder. The point holds up through multiple uses in a way that soft metal needles don't. Number 13. Fast Turn Tube Turning System. The Fast Turn system, a set of cylindrical metal tubes in multiple diameters with a corresponding dowel rod, turns sewn fabric tubes of any width from very narrow to several centimeters by sliding the fabric over the exterior of the metal tube, stitching, and then using the dowel to push the seam allowance through the tube as the fabric turns right side out. The support the rigid tube provides during the turning process is the specific advantage over a loop turner. The fabric can't bunch or pleat inside the tube the way it sometimes does with a wire-based tool in wider tubes. Number 14. Free motion quilting foot, darning foot, open toe. An open-toe free-motion quilting foot, specifically the open-toe design that removes the metal in front of the needle so you can see exactly where the needle is entering the fabric, is the presser foot upgrade that makes free-motion quilting genuinely controllable for the first time for most intermediate sewers. The closed-toe darning foot obscures the needle's entry point, which is precisely what you need to see when drawing design lines with your stitching. The open-toe version costs $15 to $25 and is one of the first tool upgrades that quilting educators specifically recommend to students who describe their free motion work as inconsistent. Number 15. Magnetic Seam Guide for Machine Bed. A magnetic seam guide, a small, strong magnet that attaches directly to the machine's metal bed at any specified distance from the needle, providing a physical wall that fabric feeds against as a seam guide, is the alternative to painter's tape stuck to the machine that most beginners use. The magnetic version is precisely repositionable, doesn't leave adhesive residue, and doesn't curl at the edges during a long sewing session. For any sewer who doesn't have accurate seam marking lines on their machine's throat plate, a magnetic guide in the $8 to $15 range provides the missing reference without permanent modification. Number 16, quilting ruler, Creative Grids with non-slip backing. The Creative Grids brand of clear acrylic quilting rulers specifically includes a non-slip surface coating on the underside that grips fabric during cutting, preventing the ruler from sliding when a rotary cutter is applied with pressure. Standard acrylic rulers slide. Sliding rulers produce inaccurate cuts that compound across a full quilting project into pieces that no longer match. A 6 by 24-inch Creative Grids ruler costs $18 to $25, more than a basic acrylic alternative, and is consistently cited by quilters as the specific tool that reduced their cutting errors immediately and noticeably from the first use. Number 17, seam ripper with ergonomic cushion grip, large handle. A large-handled seam ripper, specifically versions with a wide cushion grip like the Dritz Seam Fix or the Clover Large Ergonomic Ripper, rather than the standard thin barrel version that concentrates gripping force on fingertips, dramatically reduces the hand fatigue that accumulates during extended seam ripping sessions. The large handle allows the tool to rest in the palm rather than requiring a pinch grip. For any sewer who rips seams regularly, which is everyone who sews anything at all, the ergonomic version is a $10 to $14 upgrade that affects every single session of every single project indefinitely. Number 18, bodkin with locking jaw, Prim brand. A Prim bodkin, a large blunt-tipped tool with a locking jaw that grips elastic or drawstring securely before threading it through a casing, is the specific upgrade over the standard safety pin method of threading elastic that every intermediate sewer inevitably makes. The safety pin method, the pin catches on the casing seam, the pin opens and releases, the elastic disappears inside the casing and must be retrieved, the process repeats. The bodkin grips the elastic from the start, glides through the casing smoothly, and releases with a squeeze. Number 19, collar point turner, point former and creaser. A collar point turner, a small specifically shaped tool with a pointed end to push out sewn collar and cuff points from the inside and a creasing edge to press seam allowances open in narrow spaces, is the tool that produces sharp square collar points rather than the slightly blunted or off-center points that occur when a chopstick, pencil, or finger is used instead. The specific shape of the tool's point end is narrower than any improvised substitute, allowing it to reach completely into the corner of a sewn point. Cost $5 to $10. The difference in collar appearance is visible immediately. Number 20, industrial pinking shears, WIS 7-inch. WIS pinking shears, professional quality pinking shears with high carbon steel blades made in the original USA WIS tradition, now produced by Apex Tool Group, cut a significantly cleaner zigzag edge than standard budget pinking shears, which crush and tear fabric at the zigzag peaks rather than cutting them cleanly. The WIS 7-inch shears cost $30 to $40, which is 2 to 3 times the cost of budget alternatives, and they hold their edge significantly longer than budget alternatives. For any sewer who uses pinking shears as their primary seam finishing tool, the quality differential compounds across every seam of every project throughout the shear's long service life. Number 22, clapper block, hardwood, large surface. A tailor's clapper is a smooth hardwood block pressed firmly over a freshly pressed seam immediately after the iron lifts, trapping steam inside the fabric fibers and setting the press at a significantly higher level of flatness and permanence than the iron alone achieves. The specific physical mechanism, the hot steam-saturated fabric fibers, relax under the sudden application of cool mass and pressure, setting in the pressed position. Without a clapper, garment seams have a softer, less permanent press. With one, they have the crisp flatness of professionally finished clothing. Cost $20 to $40 for a quality hardwood clapper. Every experienced garment sewer uses one. Number 23, Teflon ironing mat, thick silicone. a thick silicone ironing mat, 3 to 5 millimeters thick, rated for direct iron contact, positioned on any work surface as a portable pressing area, allows pressing without an ironing board, on a cutting table, directly beside the sewing machine. The Teflon surface releases adhesive residue, fusible web, and heat transfer vinyl backing cleanly without staining or damage. The thickness provides sufficient heat insulation to protect the table beneath from direct iron heat. For sewers without a dedicated ironing board adjacent to their machine, this mat eliminates the physical interruption of walking to the ironing board between seams. Cost $15 to $30. Number 24, sewing machine oil and lint brush kit. A sewing machine lint brush, specifically a small, stiff, bristled brush sized to clean between the feed dogs and around the bobbin case, combined with genuine sewing machine oil, not WD-40, not cooking oil, for the specific oiling points indicated in the machine's manual, is the maintenance kit that keeps machines running smoothly indefinitely. Most machines that develop problems mid-project have simply not been cleaned and oiled regularly. A lint brush costs $3 to $6. Genuine sewing machine oil costs $4 to $8. Number 25, curved embroidery scissors, fine-tipped curved blade. Small curved blade embroidery scissors with a curved blade angle that cuts snugly against a fabric surface, clipping thread ends very close without risking cutting the fabric itself, are the tool that produces the clean thread end-free surface that hand embroidery and machine embroidery both require for a professional appearance. The curve is the functional detail. A straight blade must be angled awkwardly to cut close, risking the fabric beneath. The curved blade lies naturally flat across the surface. Dovo and Ginger make respected curved embroidery scissors in the $20 to $35 range that hold their edge significantly longer than budget alternatives. Number 26, pin magnet, craft magnet, or pin flare. A strong craft magnet held over spilled pins, positioned to catch pins falling from a cutting table, or used to sweep pins from a finished project, retrieves metal pins from any flat surface without bending to pick them up individually. The pin flare and similar magnetic pin retrieval tools are specifically designed for this purpose and include a release mechanism to drop collected pins into a container without touching them. The practical reality, pins fall off cutting tables constantly, and finding them on a carpet or hard floor individually is time-consuming and occasionally foot-damaging. Number 27, stiletto owl, for guiding fabric through machine. A sewing stiletto, a sharp, pointed tool with a comfortable handle held in the non-cutting hand during machine sewing to guide fabric pieces past the presser foot and hold small pieces flat against the feed dogs, keeps fingers safely away from the needle while maintaining precise fabric control at the exact point where control matters most. Using a finger to guide fabric places skin within a few centimeters of a needle moving at hundreds of stitches per minute. The stiletto provides the same guidance at the same precision with no risk. Cost $8 to $15. Number 38, sleeve roll, tightly stuffed cylindrical press aid. A sleeve roll, a tightly stuffed sausage-shaped pressing tool that supports a sewn sleeve from inside during pressing, so the iron presses the seam without creating a fold on the opposite side of the fabric, is the tool that makes pressing a sewn sleeve from inside the tube physically possible in a way a flat ironing board surface cannot accommodate. Used in combination with the sleeve board, which supports the tube from outside, the sleeve roll handles the internal seam pressing that the sleeve board leaves inaccessible. Together, they complete the professional sleeve pressing workflow that a flat ironing board alone cannot replicate. Number 39, rotary cutter blade sharpener. A rotary cutter blade sharpener, a small tool with a sharpening mechanism designed specifically for the circular blade profile of rotary cutters, extends blade life by restoring a sharp cutting edge to blades that have begun to drag rather than cut cleanly, rather than discarding and replacing the blade. Available from sewing and quilting suppliers for $15 to $25. A sharp rotary blade cuts fabric in a single pass with minimal pressure. A dulled blade requires multiple passes and increased pressure, which produces ragged edges and accelerates wrist fatigue. Number 30, buttonhole cutter and block set. A buttonhole cutter, a sharp, chisel-like blade matched to a hardwood or brass-lined cutting block, cuts a buttonhole in a single, clean pressing action, producing a cut that is precisely centered, exactly the correct length, and without the jagged center slip that a seam ripper makes when used for the same purpose. The seam ripper method: insert the ripper, drag carefully, pray it doesn't go past the bar tack at each end, and it often does. The buttonhole cutter method: place the blade, press firmly, done. Number 31, twin needle, double needle for machine. A twin needle, two needles on a single shank that produces two parallel rows of stitching on the top and a zigzag interlocking stitch on the underside, creates the specific top-stitched hem appearance of ready-to-wear knit garments that a single needle cannot replicate. It's the hem stitch that makes a handmade jersey t-shirt or athletic wear look like it came from a store rather than a home sewing room. Compatible with standard sewing machines with a wide throat plate hole and a zigzag setting, available in multiple widths: 2mm, 4mm, 6mm, and needle types: stretch, universal, denim. Number 32, magnetic wrist pin cushion. A magnetic wrist pin cushion, a wide elastic band worn on the wrist with a strong circular magnet embedded in the top surface, holds pins magnetically for instant retrieval without reaching across to a stationary pin cushion at the corner of the sewing table. The specific productivity gain is in frequency. In a typical quilting session, pins are picked up and placed 100 to 300 times. Each reach to a stationary cushion is a small interruption and a slight body movement. The wrist cushion eliminates the reach and keeps pins where the hand already is. Number 33, pressing cloth, natural wool organza pressing cloth. A natural wool organza pressing cloth laid between the iron and delicate fabrics, embroidery, velvet, or heat-sensitive materials during pressing allows steam to pass through freely while protecting the fabric surface from direct iron contact that would crush pile, melt synthetics, or mark delicate surfaces. The specific material matters. Wool organza allows maximum steam penetration with minimal interference, which is why it's the professional choice over cotton muslin, which blocks some steam, or synthetic organza, which can melt under high iron temperatures. A single length of wool organza costs $8 to $15 and lasts for years of regular pressing use. Number 34, thread stand, cone thread holder. A thread stand, a freestanding vertical spindle that holds a large cone of serger or machine thread and feeds it smoothly into the machine's thread path from above rather than from a horizontal spool pin, is the tool that allows large economy cones of thread to be used on a standard sewing machine. Large cones, 3,000 yards, cost significantly less per yard than standard 250 to 500 yard spools, and the feed angle from a vertical stand reduces the thread twist that feeding from a horizontal pin introduces into some thread types. Cost $10 to $18 for a basic stand. Number 35, seam roll, firmly stuffed cylindrical pressing aid. A seam roll, a firmly stuffed cylindrical pressing tool 12 to 18 inches long, is positioned inside a sewn trouser leg, sleeve, or any long narrow tube to support the seam from inside during pressing so the iron can access and press the seam flat from the outside without creating a fold or crease on the back layer. The specific limitation it solves: a flat ironing board presses both layers simultaneously, always creating an unwanted crease on the underside of any tubular garment piece. Number 36, adjustable zipper foot, narrow both sides. An adjustable zipper foot, one that can be positioned on either the left or right side of the needle and adjusted to different distances from the needle, is the version of zipper foot that makes invisible zipper installation, lapped zipper installation, and piping installation all genuinely precise rather than approximated. The standard zipper foot that comes with most machines allows only limited adjustment. The aftermarket adjustable version costs $10 to $20 and is specifically what experienced dressmakers switch to when standard zipper installations consistently produce slightly off-center stitching or visible stitching on the right side of a zipper installation. Number 37, thread snips, spring action, compact. Thread snips are small spring-action scissors that open automatically rather than requiring a squeeze-open action, are the table-beside cutting tool for clipping threads after seams, trimming seam allowances close, and any small cutting task during machine sewing. Their spring-action mechanism means one hand can operate them. Kai and Havells make respected versions. Cost $8 to $15. Number 38, buttonhole foot with sliding gauge. A buttonhole foot with a built-in sliding measurement gauge rather than a standard 4-step buttonhole foot that requires manual size setting automatically sizes the buttonhole to the exact length of the button placed inside the gauge slot, producing a consistent buttonhole matched to that button every time without calculation or manual stitch length adjustment. Place the button in the slot on the foot, position on the fabric, and the foot controls the length automatically from that single input. Available from most machine manufacturers as an accessory for compatible machines, cost $20 to $35. Eliminates the most common sizing error in machine buttonholes. A 1/4-inch seam guide plate, an alternative needle plate for the machine with a raised metal guide 1/4 inch from the needle's center position, is the specific accessory quilters who piece at an exact 1/4 inch seam allowance use instead of magnetic guides, painter's tape, or presser foot positioning. The raised metal guide is a physical wall that the fabric edges bump against and feed along automatically, producing a consistent 1/4 inch seam without active monitoring. Available from Ergonomic, Brother, and aftermarket suppliers for most domestic machine brands, cost is about $20 to $40. Accuracy is significantly more consistent than any non-physical seam guide. Number 40, electronic stitch counter app, paired with a clicker. A mechanical tally clicker, a small handheld counter clicked once per row, per stitch repeat, or per pattern unit, paired with a simple phone app to track multiple types across a project, replaces the mental count and remember process that causes stitch pattern errors when interrupted or an ingoing or outgoing conversation. The physical click during active knitting or hand sewing is significantly more reliable than a mental count held in working memory across an interruption, a notification, or a conversation. Available as a 2-clicker wrist bracelet, Clover row counter, and similar for $5 to $8.